Welcome to the JIT Tech series. In today's video, we are going to show you some tips and tricks of data entry in Excel. So Excel is a great data analytical tool, and before you can analyze data using Excel, you have to have that data in Excel. So entering data in Excel is one of the cumbersome activities a person can do. But with some tips and tricks, you can make it easier and more efficient. So without much ado, let's get right into it. So this is my Excel file, and I have some data on the Excel file. I have some data on the Excel file. So depending on what you are doing, most of the data we enter normally are individual data. They don't have much correlation. So for example, if we are selling activities or we are selling products to customers, okay, the amount each customer might pay for certain products, okay, is going to be different from the other. Even though there might be similarities, most of the time there are going to be a lot of differences. Yes, so with the different data entries or with the different value data entries, much cannot be done. But if the data entry is a duplicate of duplicates, or they are the same, they have the same pattern, they have the same value, then these tips and tricks are going to be very, very beneficial. It's going to really come in handy. So for example, if I want to enter a series of number, let's say I want to specify or number the customers which come to my business or which have bought my products, okay, I can use a data trick or an Excel data trick to achieve that. So for example, if there are 10, I have 10 customers and I want to number them so that it becomes easier for me to read, to know the number of customers I've had for a day. So in Excel, we use the Autofill tool or the Autofill feature to duplicate or copy formulas or patterns across multiple cells. Okay, so for example, if I have, let's say, 2 customers, I want to enter this 590 in this cell and in that cell. That's I want to enter the same value in these cells, the adjacent cells. Okay, I can just type in the first value, 590, okay, enter, and then using the autofill feature, I can copy this 590 to the other 3 cells over here, the other 3 adjacent cells over here. So when you look at the right hand corner of the selected cell, you will see a tiny square, a very small square. So on that square, as soon as you move your mouse onto that square, the mouse changes from this big white to this thin plus, this thin black plus, right? Plus sign. So when it changes that way, you know that you are trying to do the autofill. And as I mentioned, the autofill is used to copy, duplicate, or transfer formulas from one cell to the other. So when you click on it in this manner and move it along the 3 cells. Then the value in the first cell is copied to the rest of the cells. The value in the first cell is copied to the rest of the cell, right? So that's the autofill. And if, assuming I have a series, I want to number in a series. Excel is so intelligent to know series, to be in series, or to understand series and patterns. So if I should start from 1 this way and then type a 2, so now from the first cell I have 1, and in my second cell I have 2. So this is a series of numbers, or I'm trying to enter in a series of numbers. So because I'm trying to enter in a series of numbers, Excel recognizes that series, and I can use the autofill to complete that series. So if I select the 2 cells in this manner and locate the autofill button, okay, which is that tiny square at the right hand bottom of your selection, okay, when I locate that autofill icon, click on it and drag down up to the place I want to fill up to, right, up to the cells I want to fill up to. It's going to continue that numbering for me. So from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 up till the cell I stopped. So the cell I stopped at was the 25th cell, in that way, right? So that's Excel recognizes some series, or series that we know about, okay? So it's not only number series that Excel recognizes. Excel also recognizes the some days of the week and months of the year, right? So if you type in the first day of the week in this way, and then you select and locate the autofill button, drag it downwards, Excel is going to complete the series for you. So Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, then it continues as such, right? Yes, so it recognizes some kind of pattern and some kind and all the patterns that are known worldwide, and all the series that are known worldwide. Excel recognizes it, okay? So if it's also the months of the year as well, I can equally do same, okay? The months of the year, so the first month is January, in this way. So now if I should use the auto icon, I'm going to be able to continue the month according to the yearly month, or the pattern that we know. We know that from January you are going to February and March and April and May and so on and so forth, right? So, and dates as well. So if I should have today it is 16th April. So if I should use 16th April, so if I should type in the first date, which is April 16, so 4/16/2025, okay? If I should use the first date and drag as well, okay, I get the dates one after the other in order. So for 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, and so on and so forth, right? Yes, so that's the autofill feature. It's used to copy patterns and values and formulas from one cell to the other from one cell to the other. Someone might ask, why did I type in the first two values of the series before using the autofill? Okay, when you type in just one value, okay, because you could also be copying just the first value to the adjacent cells, okay, Excel might not know what you are doing, okay, so it will not follow you. It will just copy the first value and bring it to the rest of the cells. But if you want it to recognize that pattern, then you have to type in the first two values. Or after using the autofill feature, you can come to this options icon here. So after you use the autofill and release your mouse, you are going to have this options icon here. And with this options icon, you can click on there and then choose to fill series, right? So when you choose to fill series, okay, in that way, it's going to fill it in a series for you. It's going to apply the series fill for you. But if you don't choose it to fill in a series, then you are going to have the cells or the values of the value in this first cell copied to the rest of our cells. So that's the autofill button or icon. So in our autofill, so with our, I mentioned that Excel recognizes all series. So it doesn't matter, it recognizes even number series, multiple series, factorization series. So if you want to, let's say you are doing factors of a number, okay, let's say you are doing factors of 12, okay, you start with the first one. The factor of 12 is 1. The first factor of 12 is 1, then 2, right? But for this, you would have to move further, okay? So 3, 4, 6, okay? And then select them, right? So you can do factors and multiples, okay? So if I was doing, let's say for example, I was creating a multiplication table like how we had when we were growing up, a book which contains multiples of numbers, right? So 2, then 2 and 2, 2, 2, 2, 3, 4, and so on and so forth, right? So you can create a multiplication book or table, okay, based on this. So you can start, let's say if you want to do multiples of 2, you can start with 2 and then 4, okay, and then when I select the 2, Excel will understand that I'm trying to create multiples of 2. So when I autofill, I will have it as such. So multiples of 2. So that's 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, and so on and so forth. If I want multiples of 3, this the same way, the first two values of multiples of 3, and then I will use the autofill to complete the series, right? In that manner, in that way, and in that manner. So if I want multiples of 4, I will type the first two values of 4, 4 and 8, 4 and 8. Select the two cells together. So to select, you click and then drag, okay? So you click, hold the click, and then move your hand in the direction of your selection, okay? So click, move your hand in the direction of the selection. and as you move in that way, it selects the cells. Okay, so when you click, but don't release the click. Click, hold the click, drag. As you drag in that direction, it selects the cells in the direction. If you go in the right direction, it will do same. If you go in the left, it will select it as such, right? So depending on the direction you move, okay, I started from moving downwards, then moved sideways, right? So in the direction you move is what is the cells that are going to be selected when you are doing drag or click and drag. Okay, so you select using click and then drag. So you select the two cells which contains the first two values of your pattern, and then click to finish, or click, or sorry. So if you want to do the autofill, you click the autofill button and then drag to the end of the series you are looking for, right? So you can go as much as you want, but the series is going to keep increasing and increasing. So I'm going to stay at multiples of 4 to the 12th number, right? Multiples of 4 to the 12th number. So when I stop there, I get the multiples of 4, the 12th multiple of 4, and that's 48. Okay, in that manner. So that's how you can use the autofill. If I didn't intend to copy or to have a series here, then I can come to the autofill options and choose copy cell. All right, copy cell, and that will copy the values in the first in the series that was selected, the two values that were selected. So if it's 4 and the second was 8, okay, these are the two values that are selected, right? So when I use the autofill by clicking on the autofill button and dragging to the cell that I intend to drag to, okay, and choose the copy cells option, then it means that what I want to do is to copy the 4 and the 8 in that manner. So I want 4 to come, then 8 will follow, then 4 will come next to that 8, and then another 8 will come in that manner. So Excel always recognizes patterns, and it works according to that pattern you are doing. So it works, or it makes automations based on patterns. Because Excel recognizes patterns, it makes automations, or when you are writing or entering data in patterns, it is very, very easy to do. So if I had 4, let's say 9 and 16 in this way, and I want to use the autofill to duplicate the rest of the cell in that manner. So 4, 9, 16, 4, 9, 16 up to the last cell, right? Then Excel can do that for me, and I can copy the cells in the threes. So 4, 9, 16, 4, 9, 16 up to the end of my cell, right? Yes. So another way of using the autofill button instead of the normal click and drag is to double click on the autofill button. So when I double click on the autofill button, depending on the adjacent column, the width or the size of the adjacent column, Excel will autofill my series to fill to that exact pattern. So if I should use the double click the autofill button this way, okay, yeah, then it's ended at number 25 because the adjacent data I have, okay, the adjacent data I have, okay, fills up to here. Okay, so if you see or if you notice, it didn't fill down this way, it just ended at number 26, right? Yes, so you, instead of dragging, okay, if it is a subsequent column, if it's in a subsequent column, you can double click on the autofill button and it will understand that you want to complete or you want to fill the column with that series. Yes, so for our autofill tool, you can actually also combine the pattern, and Excel will recognize the pattern. I mentioned that Excel recognizes pattern. Okay, so if I should have, let's say, JIT, maybe I'm writing a code for students and I do JIT, right, 2025 001, okay, JIT or 001 2025. Let's say I'm trying to give IDs to students. I'm trying to give IDs to students. Then I want to do JIT 001 2025. Okay, that's the pattern I'm creating. And the next person will be JIT, okay, 002, okay, 2025. So my in 2025 I have 1 and 2 students, but I have 25 students, so I want to continue this pattern with 1, 2, and so on and so forth down to the very last, right? Then I want to I can use the autofill to complete. So use the autofill to complete as such, right? And then that's what we get. We have so 001, 002, 003, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, right? 25, 26, and so on and so forth, right? So it recognizes pattern. Okay, so even if I should be changing, let's say the 2025 is changing, or it's changing evenly, right? I'm putting even numbers at the last 6, okay, like that, and the last number will be an even number. So 2026, 2028, right? And then the next one will be JIT, 2030, right? In that manner. Now I've trained it to know that I want to change this number to 2 and this number to 3. Okay, right, so I've trained it to know that this is 1, 2, 3, and the last 2 is 6, 8, 0, but 6, 26, 28, 30, right? But this can be quite tricky because sometimes Excel is unable to recognize it, or it's not clear. The pattern is not so very clear. So when it's not so very clear, you might not get what you are looking for. But when it is very clear, you are going to get what you are looking for. So it's recognized that this the number in the middle is changing and the last values are changing evenly, right? So 64, 66, 68, 70, 72, 74, 76, in that manner. Okay, in that way. Yes, so that is the Excel autofill button. Now I mentioned that you can use Excel autofill to copy formulas as well, in fact, Excel is all about formulas. So when if you have a formula behind a value, or if you have a formula giving rise to a value in a cell, it means that when you use the autofill, it's going to, the default is to copy the formula. So for example, if I want to add kill P and Q, if I want to add P and Q cells, the content of cells P and Q, so my formula is going to be equal to sum that's going to be equal, okay, so let me just do P, so equal to P, comma, Q. Okay, no, sorry, that's P plus Q. Yes, so P plus Q. Okay, so even though I have 8 here, there's a formula granting that value. Okay, there's a formula granting that value, and when I use or make use of the autofill button, is that formula that's going to be copied or duplicated across my cells. Okay, so if I should move this in this way, but what happens is that the cells are copied, or sorry, the formula is copied relatively to the cell. Okay, so if cell V2 is giving us P2 plus Q2, then V3 in Excel's thinking is also supposed to give us P3 and V3. Okay, that's the autofill idea of Excel, right? So when you are using the autofill feature and you are copying formulas, okay, the formula will be copied relatively to the cell. So this cell, in the first cell, the value came from the addition of these two cells. Okay, it means that when I use the autofill to copy the formula to the cell downwards, okay, it means the cell reference is also going to move down as well. So instead of, you might have thought P2 and Q2 is what is going to be copied, or is what is going to evaluate here, but that's not what happens. The formula, as the formula changes, or as the formula moves from one cell to the other, the contents of the formula, or the cell references in the formula, also move accordingly. In that manner. They also move accordingly in that manner. They also move accordingly in that manner. As the cell moves, or as the formula moves from one cell to the other, the cell references in the formula moves accordingly or relatively to it, relatively to the movement. If it was moving, if the formula was moving row wise, meaning if I was, rather than moving down, I was moving right, in the right direction, that's on the row, okay, then the formula is going to be moved accordingly. So it's no longer P2 plus Q2, but rather Q2 plus R2, like so, Q2 plus R2. And then when I got to the third, it became R2 plus S2, right? So we call it relative cell reference, right? So the formula moves relatively to the direction of your autofill. The formula, so the copying of the formula moves relatively to the direction of your copy, in that way. Yes. Okay, so now I want us to stop the autofill here, stop our discussion on autofill here. So I'm going to select all these cells that I've created and I'm going to delete it. So we are going to stop our autofill here and then talk about flash fill. Talk about flash fill. So as I mentioned, Excel recognizes pattern. Excel recognizes patterns, okay? So that's how come we were able to get these two data or these two columns here, by using a pattern. Okay, now with my flash fill, okay, when I want to, let's say, take a part of this value, okay, I want to copy parts of this value, right, without copying everything. So let me show you what I mean. So I want to have just the 001, okay, because that's the, let's say, the exact number of our students, okay. So I just want 001 and 002. I want 001, 002 in that manner, okay. Then using the flash fill, so the flash fill is on our data, okay, and there's flash fill on here. So on our data tab, okay, in our data tools group, okay, we have flash fill, okay. Okay, sorry, I have to when to use flash fill, you have to be adjacent to your data, okay, not necessarily next to where you are flashing, okay, but you have to be close to the data. There should be no spaces in your data, okay. Yes, in that way, okay. So for convenience sake, I want to do the T00 and 1, okay, and then T00, T002, like so. Okay, and based on that, I want to flash fill. Okay, so it goes into our data which it recognizes here. So it understands that, oh, okay, I'm picking the part of these values, okay, and putting it here. So I've come into this value in here and I'm taking this out of that value and placing it in my K column, in that manner. Okay, so that's the flash fill. That's the flash fill. You can use it to let's say separate names. Okay, so if let's say you have a data which just takes the names in no together, it takes it together. So we have first name, surname, and other names all in one cell, but per what you are doing, you need to separate those names. You can use the flash fill to do that. You can use the flash fill to do that. So for example, I have this Chris Baker here. I have this Chris Baker and Karen, right, and so on and so forth, right? So now I want to use the flash fill. So I want to have Chris somewhere and then Baker somewhere. So Chris, right, and then the space, Chris and space. I'm using space because I want it to understand that I want to end at space. Okay, now when I click on the flash fill, it's going to end it at space for me. So yeah, I'm going to have Chris, Karen, David, Natalie, so on and so forth, right? So I brought the space because I want it to understand that I'm taking the Chris plus the space. So the first number, and I'll stop at the space, right? So where I'm stopping is the space, and it will do that exactly for me. Now if I want the surname, then I'll have the space and then Baker, and then do the flash fill. Okay, do the flash fill. So Baker, Wright, Clark, Green, Hall, and so on and so forth in that manner, right? Yes. So that's how you can use the flash fill to make your work easier. So instead of maybe going to copy everything, right, going to this column and copying, or because you want to separate, you need to do something like type it there, right, which you can do with other things, but yes, then you can just use the flash fill to make your life easier, or to make your data entry life easier, right? Yeah, so that is our flash fill. There's a shortcut to using flash fill. That's a keyboard shortcut, not a keyboard shortcut. So instead of maybe coming to the data type, the data tab, and locating flash fill on data tools, you can just do, so if I should copy just the first two items, right, the first two letters of the name, so H, C, and H, right, I can just, instead of finding data fill on the tools bar, you can just do Control E, like so, right? Control E and then have it there. Control E and have it there. Okay, this CU is coming from here, the customer, right? And that's what come on my surname. I had the name here because this cell was filled. That's how come it left it alone. But if it wasn't filled, it would have replaced, or it would have put customer over here, right? Yeah, so this CU is coming from the customer name here. Yes, so we have come to the end of this video, right? So in today's video we found out the autofill, various ways you can use the autofill, and then we've also looked at the flash fill Excel 2, the flash fill Excel 2, right? And the shortcut for flash fill is what? The shortcut for flash fill is what? Okay, yes. So I'll leave that to you to answer. Thank you very much for joining this series, and next week we are going to come your way with more series, more things to make your IT journey efficient. Thank you.